Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Barbershop Group Podcast. I'm Charles, your host. Glad to be back with you all this Friday. And I have Dr. Steve Poulter, the author of The Shame Factor. Heal Your Deepest Fears and Set Yourself Free on. And today we are talking about boys' sexual abuse, men and sexual abuse, and the stigma of sexual abuse among males, right? So if you guys have been listening to the podcast for some time, you know that I tell the story about being molested, um, about being raped. Um, and I've shared this a couple times in different spaces. And thankfully for me, when I informed my parents did not disbelieve me. They didn't go nuts. They didn't blame me. They didn't shame me. They did have a lot of questions. My dad, particularly, was able to show a lot of emotion and concern. My mom, who is a little bit less emotive, right, and less emotional, dude. She asked questions, right? But thankfully, like I said, no shame and disbelief. However, Doc, I think it is fair to say that that's not necessarily the case for a lot of men who come forward with abuse.
Charles, your experience is the exception to my experience. Is the exception.
Yeah, that is the exception.
It is the exception because I hear the big three. It's your fault. We don't believe you.
Yeah.
And don't talk about
it. Yeah, there's a lot of
big
that.
Three. And don't talk about it.
So the big three again are: we don't believe you.
It's your fault.
It's your fault.
And don't tell anybody.
And don't tell anybody. And that's the case whether we're talking about a male child or adult. Is that
correct?
Right?
Correct. Absolutely. Charles, that thing is don't tell anybody. It's faulted. Boys know that. It's so humiliating. Adult men, I know that in my practice have been violated, physically, sexually violated. And Charles, it'd be easier for me to pull out their teeth with a pair of pliers. They're not going there.
Yeah. Wow.
They're not.
Wow. And so
got
statistically,
sealed.
we talking about, statistically, we talking, well, they say right now on paper, the number is 1 in 6, but you say that it's probably a little higher than that. Yeah.
I'm saying 1 in 4 minimum.
You think it's
25%.
1 in 4. So it's closer to what girls are experiencing. You think it's similar to that?
Yeah. Well, I think girls are 2 out of 3. In my practice, Charles,
I see.
Over the last million years, if you will, and as a police officer, my last life, I was horrified by what didn't get reported.
Yeah,
stuff went sideways, and the victim, I'm not talking, and had nothing to do with race, economic. It was just like the guy code. We don't talk. We don't talk.
Right.
And by the way, I read this week, Charles. It wasn't until 2012 the FBI didn't believe men could be raped. They changed
what
in 2012. I will find it. I sent you the article. It's at the Washington Post in February of this year, 2020.
2021. Okay.
The FBI did not change their definition of rape until 2012. They did not believe men could be raped. Charles, we're talking 2012.
Wow. What
they changed? They changed it from her. They did not believe men could be raped.
So what were they calling it then? If they couldn't believe if it was rape,
sexual assault. They just call it an assault. Not that an assault isn't serious, but being fondled versus being raped, Charles, is quite a variance in trauma.
Right. Absolutely. Charles, there's no doubt about that.
Charles, I read that 3 times to make sure I wasn't seeing or transposing the numbers. 2012, the FBI finally changed it. They finally made it gender neutral. Rape is rape.
I see. Where that rape is rape. Yeah. Yeah.
Prior to that,
okay,
Charles.
Okay. And
yeah. We're talking 8-9 years ago.
Sexual assault.
We're not talking 1972. We're talking 2012.
Right. And so I was able to find that that article. Okay. And we'll make sure that we post that one in the show notes, and it'll be on our website for you guys to read it too. It's a very lengthy article, so take some time with it. But yeah, I had no idea that there was no codification for
right. no definition.
No
male
definition
for
men who have been raped in this manner. So, 2021, that happened in 2012. So here's the other thing that I think about, right? When you talk about the stigma, you mentioned those three things, but I want to add another one to it, and that is, I'm going to go with current day, right? We've spent so much time as a society trying to get people to believe women. We spend so much time trying to empower women, how to wrong the rights of men against women, right? We're spending so much time talking about equality for women, bringing women forward. The future is woman, the divine feminine, all of these things, right? So it gets to the point where we just kind of push what's happening to males underneath the door. It's like the gas. It's just going to just seep right out the door. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah. That's what happens. So guys, you're listening to Dr. Steve Poulter, the author of The Shame Factor, talking about the stigma of male sexual abuse. Today, we have a lot of numbers, facts, and figures for you all, and some things that we personally feel need to happen regarding this thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Charles,
Hey guys, we are back. We are back at the Barbershop Group podcast with the author of The Shame Factor, Dr. Poulter. Listen, guys, really quick, if you do not have the Shame Factor book, you can go to our website, tbgmen.com. You can purchase it there, or you can purchase the Shame Factor on Amazon as well. We greatly appreciate it. It's got a lot of tools in there for dealing with personal shame and these shameful emotions. And we're also getting ready to start working on a companion journal for men that will help you kind of flesh out some of these things. So keep your eyes peeled back. It'll take some time because everybody's busy. We're all busy. But we really want to put that out there for you. And if you guys would like to help us get that out there faster by offering a financial contribution, you are able to do so. If you're listening to the podcast on your phone, you can go right to the support button in the podcast app and provide a monetary donation today, right? Or you can go on our website again, tbgmen.com, and right underneath the podcast, you can click support and offer a donation or a monthly contribution there as well. Again, we're just trying to get these resources out to you all. Your assistance does help. Okay. So, we're talking about the stigma of male sexual abuse. And so in this article, Doc, one of the things that jumped out at me over the break was we're talking about this physician, Robert Bloom, who was studying adolescents for like 40 years. And he had a revelation, right? He had a revelation being that, look, we've spent so much time focusing on girls, right? We totally missed this. And it came up in the data. He says that there's a myth that girls are disadvantaged and that boys are advantaged. I'm pretty sure he caught a lot of heat for saying that, right?
You just saying that right now makes me pause. This makes me pause. And I'm like, okay, Charles,
it's the research, right? It's the research.
He got bludgeoned, but the numbers tell the truth.
Right.
It's a cultural myth, Charles.
The numbers.
And Charles, nothing. He says we can't solve the problem of violence against girls and women without also addressing the violence against men and boys.
Exactly. Boys are I say that all the time.
So to find an academic project that found that to be true is stunning.
Yeah. I say that all the time. I mean,
Gotta heal
I'm just
both.
like, yo, it just you can't say, hey, protect women, protect women, protect women without saying protect men. It just doesn't happen. Okay. And
Doesn't happen.
The Dalai Lama said, as
Mm-hmm.
long as a person doesn't experience inner peace, right, there will be no outer peace. So
Peace.
hey, these guys got to have
Yep.
inner peace. But going back to the sexual violence, another thing that Bloom pointed out was that um, was that one of the things that kept coming up in the research was men who had been sexually abused, right? They had a higher propensity of becoming violent with other people, right?
Yes.
Becoming violent. Now, what's
Violent.
interesting about that is he didn't say that it showed that they would become sexually abusive towards another person. He
No.
said violent.
Violent.
Yes. Yeah. What were your thoughts about that?
We know it. It's like we knew that was there.
Yeah.
Because Charles, when we convey to boys that unwanted touch is as serious of an issue for them as it is for girls, it's only then does it start to get healed. Because the boys and men in my practice who've been touched, they don't feel their body is as important as a woman's body. Charles, they're equal.
Yeah.
They're equal.
Yeah.
And that's why men act out so much.
I used to always have people ask me as an athlete, right? You know how, and maybe it happens less today. I don't know, because I'm out of that world.
Yeah.
But women would particularly, they would ask, do you feel okay when you're out there on the court or the track or whatever, and your coach or another teammate walks up to you and you did something nice and they pat you on the butt? Like, doesn't that feel creepy? And most guys would be like, nah. Especially those of us who were, 1970s, 80s, 90s babies. You didn't think about stuff like that, right?
Not at all.
Didn't think about it. So your body, men haven't been taught that their bodies were sacred. And we're still not teaching men that our bodies are sacred, right? So
Charles,
you don't think about your physical boundaries in that way.
So that then, Charles, translate into guys trying to understand a woman's body is important.
Right. How can you do it? Because you don't understand that your own body is important.
Yeah,
right?
It's a downward fall.
Man, that is something. That is something.
Charles, this is what Dr. Bloom at Johns Hopkins, it's groundbreaking. Yeah. This article came out this year, 2021.
This year. Yeah. The unfortunate part, right. The unfortunate part about this article coming out is that it comes out during COVID. It comes out during the George Floyd
shutdown.
It comes out during the shutdown. So you don't see it.
It gets pushed to the back of the room,
right.
Charles.
Right.
It doesn't get the airplay it deserves.
Absolutely. Then there's something else that I also found interesting in this article. Again, guys, it'll be up on our website for you to take a look at. It's lengthy, so we're just hitting some of the heavy points real quick.
Yeah.
But when we get back, I want to touch on something that Dr. Bloom found that is also mind-blowing. So stick with us, guys. We'll be right back after the break. Hey guys, we're back talking about sexual abuse, male sexual abuse, and the stigma of it, and kind of what maybe some things that we've been overlooking. I don't know about you guys, but even as a victim of abuse, this is still eye-opening to me to know that we're missing something, right? We're talking about this research that was done at Johns Hopkins.
Yes.
One of the things that we learned when going over this was that boys were more likely to die during their second decade of life. So let's focus on that for a minute. Second decade of life. We're talking about from 10 to 20 years old. We're not talking 25, 30. No. From 10 to 20, boys are more likely to die in their second decade of life than girls. They're going to use higher amounts of alcohol and tobacco products. That's
suicide.
When a lot of suicide, that's when a lot of life-threatening habits are developed between year 10 and year 20. So if you dads and moms out there are listening and you have boys between ages of 10 and 20 right now, you need to double back and pay attention to what's going on in their lives. Okay, it's crucial. The other thing that Dr. Bloom found out, he and his team found out, they said that boys suffered higher levels of physical violence, higher levels of neglect, higher levels of sexual abuse by adults than girls do. Oh boy. Now that blew my mind.
And Charles, it blows my mind. I've been in the field forever. I read this. This wasn't some article we pulled off the internet. This comes from John Hopkins, the Washington Post. Charles, here, I want to read this. That they don't believe that boys can be raped because it's pleasurable. Okay.
Right.
Hey, Charles, we're talking.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. In 2018, found 1 in 3 men can't quite believe a man said he was raped by a woman. You can believe that. The belief that men can't be raped because women aren't strong enough, not true. And and the conviction that a straight man, they want sex so much. So it's consistent that men aren't bothered when a woman wants to, or another man wants to have sex with, because they enjoy sex.
Because they enjoy it, right.
Therefore, boys can't be abused. And it's the most, and to your point, Charles,
and
between 16 and 19 is the highest rate of all the different people groups are teenage boys. Death, suicide, abuse, alcoholism. Charles, that's why, car insurance companies, not stupid. You pay the most to have your kid insured between 16 and 19.
You pay the most. Yeah.
Because they know the numbers. And they have no problem. Charles, the insurance companies they know the truth. They know that age group.
Oh yeah, who's at risk. They know who's at risk.
And these boys go into their 20s, and because they've been abused, Charles, they know. Come on, they don't want to write that check. And Charles, you're just what this study shows is that if we want women, we're all about women not being abused. We've got to start with men getting clear thinking about it and stop doing it to themselves by allowing it.
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely. No doubt about that. You're very right about that. There's one particular story, guys. I don't know if you all remember it. It's harrowing. If you are or have been a victim of sexual violence, then this next segment, I want to let you know, take a breath. You may need to sit down and grab some water. It may be triggering for you. But there was an incident that occurred in the state of Maryland that we're going to discuss right after the break. You're listening to the Barbershop podcast with Dr. Stephan Poulter, the author of The Shame Factor. Heal your deepest fears and set yourself free. Make sure that you go to tbgmen.com to purchase that book there. You can also buy it on Amazon. But stick with us, guys. We'll be right back after the break.
Yes.
Hey guys, we're back. Barbershop Group Podcast. We're talking about stigma of male abuse. And again, as I said in the previous segment, this story is just unbelievable to me. A lot of you guys, if you were watching the news at the time, you may be able to recall a thing that happened at a high school in Montgomery County, Maryland, at a high school called Damascus High. In October.
Yes.
Somewhere around Halloween. I think some football players were in the locker room or something like that. Some freshmen were in the locker room and they heard some banging on walls, didn't know what it was. These kids didn't know what it was. But they heard someone say, "Hey guys, it's time. Are you ready?" Some upperclassmen entered into the room and began punching these freshmen. They grabbed 4 of these boys, pushed them to the ground, punched them, stumped them. They pulled their pants down, and commenced to stabbing them in their butts, on their butts with broomsticks, and eventually, and unfortunately, those boys with the broomsticks also penetrated the canal of some of these boys. Okay, that's right. They stuck the brooms up these boys' butts as they laid on the floor. And some of the victims were crying out, asking for help. And the attackers laughed at them. The other crowd of boys just stood there looking. Okay, just looking at this. And I remember seeing this in the news at the time. You know, real time, you don't have this information, right?
Right.
So at real time, the way it's presented in a way to an American public that's already desensitized, because, you know, our news is set up so either it's going to desensitize you or it's going to cause you to have a lot of emotive feeling, right? This does one or the other, you know. And so it brings you low and then it takes you high. That's what our news media does.
Yeah.
And so when I saw this, the way that they presented it, they didn't present it like it was a big deal.
Charles, I remember it too. I'd heard that term from fraternities doing crazy stuff. Brooming?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Charles, when Duke lacrosse got in trouble, it wasn't outside. I'm sorry, but people found that very believable. The brooming incident, way outside. And Charles, the boys, some of those victims felt as if they were complicit and somehow or another they're at fault.
Yeah.
And the myth is, if you're man enough, you're not going to talk about it. Charles, that's still present day.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because, you know, now that you said if you're not quote unquote man enough to talk about it, seeing that this is Pride Month, let me mention this to everybody out there. You want to talk about a group of people who, a group of men who have even higher incidences of sexual assault, rape, and molestation? Yeah, gay men.
Yep.
All right.
Gay men.
Gay men are at greater risk. Gay men are at greater risk than heterosexual men. Check this out. More than 40% of gay men, and more than 47% of bisexual men say that they have been sexually victimized, compared to 21% of straight men. Wow.
Right.
How about that? Pride Month. It's out there. Let's talk about that.
Charles, and those numbers are from the CD. Those are from the Center of Disease Control. That's not they just collect data. Their job, they get paid to collect data. And Charles, I think for gay men in my practice, it's higher than that.
You think it's even higher?
Oh, I think it crosses 50% line. Out of 10 of them, 10 men, 6 of them have been violated. When I say violated, Charles, I'm talking the whole spectrum. But Charles, when men start talking about it, it's going to expose the secrets.
Right. That's right.
And because women talk about it, it's exposing it. Men have got to catch up.
Right. Yeah.
Got to catch up. Close the gap.
And that's one of the things that we're trying to do with the Barbershop group is really encourage guys not just to speak up, but to speak up and get help. And through speaking up, encourage somebody else to get help. That's just we want there to be a domino effect of healing. You know, that's what, because we know what's happening. But I mean, you hear even us being astonished to find out that it's happening in a way that's even more than what we thought. Right.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about the CDC. So there was another thing that came up when they found that nearly 4 million men have been victims of sexual violence just in the previous year. That was 2015. So 6 years ago, they did this it came out in 2015, but it was done for 2014. It was a national survey done in 2014. The findings came out a year later. They said that 4 million men have been victims of sexual violence in 2014.
And those are just the guys that reported it.
And that's the ones that reported. Right. Okay. And it's at 2 million.
Charles,
okay.
That's frightening. And
it is.
The guy code for not talking is what you're addressing. is how to break. We got to, Charles, the Barbershop group is starting a dialogue, because through the dialogue comes healing.
Right.
Come healing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I'll continue with some of this. So you guys really understand, the severity of this thing. More than 2 million men out of that 4 million that the CDC cited, more than 2 million of those men were subjected to unwanted sexual contact, right? Wow. More than 800, right, said they were made to penetrate another person. And in the previous podcast, guys, we talk about what sexual abuse actually is, as opposed to what we think it is. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, there are men out there who are made to penetrate someone else. It does happen. And so there's a lot of emotional coercion involved in situations like that. Right.
Charles, many times, I'm jumping ahead, guys suppress it. It goes underground, but it never goes away.
Right.
Charles, it comes out in their marriage, comes out in their relationships.
Okay.
They don't realize it, but it blocks their ability to be intimate emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, let alone physically. Because that level of vulnerability, people don't want to do it.
Right.
Guys don't want to do it. And the wife feels like they're hitting a glass wall. They can see them, but they can't get through it.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Doc. I got a question for you. I want to.
Oh boy, here's a fastball. Here's a fastball.
Why don't you think that the news media talks about this more? I got you now. See, I stumped you. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, you go. Oh man, that's a fastball, high and tight. Charles, I believe there's two reasons. A lot of the guys writing those articles are victims too.
Oh wow, that's what you think, huh?
Don't think that doesn't play into it.
Yeah,
it's much easier for men to talk about women being sexually abused. Not that that's good, but it's not me. Now we're getting too close.
Right. The focus is on somebody else.
That 15-year-old, that's terrible what happened. But don't start talking about men who've been abused and never told anybody. Now, it came out about the Catholic Church, Boy Scouts, and I think that's just fluff compared to what happened in the neighborhoods.
Got it. Well, the other thing I think about is how our military silences abuse within their ranks. How about that,
Charles? I think that's It's too. I'm not being cynical, but you're not. The news, they're not equipped because it's not sensational. It's like you said, Charles. It's not desensitizing, and it's not a roller coaster. This is scary because now I got to do the work.
Yeah, and I think too. Yeah, go ahead.
I have couples that haven't had sex in years. It's not because the wife wants to. And I start talking to the husband. He has unresolved trauma.
Yeah, that's totally believable.
Unresolved trauma. And we had Paula on. She talked about that too.
Right. That's right.
It's not functioning. Their desire at a young age was never developed.
Right.
It was aborted.
Yeah. No,
Charles, that's why it's not on the news. It's not on the news. This is way too heavy. When you start talking about men sexual abuse, we're also talking about incest.
Got it.
And when you start talking about emotional incest, is enough to clear the room. Physical incest, they clear the building.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting that you say that, because when I started working with juvenile sex offenders, right, one of the more common things in the histories of the vast majority of kids who showed up was incest. That was like, if you pulled out everybody's big binder and you look for commonalities, that was one that was going to show up quite often, right?
Charles,
eventually they started doing their program work. It would be added.
Charles, I've had perpetrators come and talk to me when they did something to sister or their brother when they were kids, and he doesn't know what to do. I go, well, we need to talk about it and see how to heal, forgive, and move forward and resolve that trauma. But incest, Charles, it's widespread.
Mm-hmm.
I said it.
Yeah.
And Charles, I don't want to talk about it. I wrote the Shame Factor, and part of the reason I wrote the book was people talk about incest. That's shame on steroids.
Yeah.
There's so much shame about
and
that.
It's crazy because a lot of people will just be like, no. They bury that. They really do bury that.
Charles, I call it the them syndrome. It's them.
Yeah.
No, it's us. It's us.
Right. Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
It's not another country. Absolutely. It's not another part of the country. It's not another world. It's us. And I have a lot of boys that slept in the same bed with their mom till age 15.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
right.
Go ahead. I'll stop there. Stop there.
Oh gosh. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Again, I got men that fathers had their daughters sleeping in bed way too old. Never should happen.
Yeah. Right. Yep. No, I'm with you. I get it. I totally get it. And,
so answering your question, that's why we're not seeing this on network news or CNN or Fox or ABC nightly news. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Yeah. No, can't do.
Yeah, it's that's landing in everybody's lap. So no, we're just not gonna do that.
We're throwing hand grenades.
Oh, buddy.
Charles, as men talk, Charles, when men start talking about this, I'm telling you, it's gonna take the wind out of the sails in a good way.
Yeah.
It's curable, it's healing.
Yeah.
And Charles, I have people in my practice that are obese, men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always asking, who violated you? Okay, I'm really out there now.
Why do you ask that? Because it's a lot of body shaming advocates out there. We're like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you asking that person that? So Doc, why do you ask them that?
Because deep down, there's something they don't feel good about themselves, and I don't want to buy into the weight or the fat syndrome. What is emotionally that someone told you weren't good enough?
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna make some people, I'm getting ready to make some people mad. Okay,
please join me.
Yep, I will. I'll get in the ring with you and take the blows. I can't, not last basketball season because that was the bubble. I believe it was the season before last. There's a singer out there by the name of Lizzo, African American girl. A lot of you guys know who Lizzo is.
We know.
She was at a basketball game, sitting courtside. And decided to.
It was 2019.
Okay.
It was pre-shutdown. Pre-shutdown.
Yeah, it was pre that. Yes. Decided to dance and reveal some of her clothing or the lack of clothing right there on the court in front of men, women, children, and there were a lot of people who came out in support of what she did, saying, hey, this is no different than the dancers and blah, blah, blah. You guys are body shaming her and all of that stuff. But I want to tell you what I saw, Doc. And then I'm going to tell you what subsequently happened and what's happening now. What I saw was an artist who was taking advantage of recent notoriety, interpreting what she saw other people doing and doing it. But I also saw underneath that, I saw a person who was trying to retain attention. Okay. And I said to myself, this is going to have a huge emotional blowback for this young lady. Don't know when, where, or how, but this is going to happen. So before that, don't want to fast forward yet, she decides to go live on Instagram and tell people to defend her actions and what have you. Okay, and there are still a lot of people were supporting her, and her weight isn't an issue, and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, and then you fast forward a little further, and you begin to see now she's wanting to try to lose weight. That was one thing. Okay. And then as you go a little further, and this is where we are today, now she's talking about her mental health, and some other things are starting to come out that previously people obviously couldn't have known because she didn't share them, didn't connect to them, didn't get honest about it. And now it sounds like, you know what? You had some other things going on psychologically that impacted your external behavior. And we all know that that's what happens, you see?
Yep.
And this isn't, I don't want to make this about, because we're talking about men, but I don't want to make this about Lizzo or whatever she got going on.
It's a
But
good
that's
point,
just
though.
it's an example. Because I could have used a man. Okay.
Yeah. Charles,
you know,
yeah. The other thing is, Charles, I don't want people misunderstand me any more than they will.
mhm,
I have clients that come in that are very, very overweight.
mhm,
I'm not saying everybody comes in who's been sexually abused, but I have found more times than not there's unresolved trauma.
yeah, unresolved trauma, right.
Period.
Mhm,
If that isn't that Lizzo thing, I saw that, I was thinking, there's something else going on there, like you thought. There's something
mhm,
going on.
yeah,
It seemed very odd
right,
when she did that. It didn't
right,
seem organic. It just seemed
yeah,
odd.
mm,
There's something else going on. And now as time come on, she's had some mental health challenges.
right, yeah. So you kind of go like, wait a minute, hold on,
Well,
guys, hold up.
time.
You gotta put,
Mhm.
and it's funny because I told my son the other day, I said, man, people love content but not context. Okay. And so a
Ooh.
lot of times when we see things, we eat the content up, and then we don't want to deal with the context, because the context tells us that we have to stop being emotional only. We also have to be rational. We also have to look at the gray areas, not just the black and white. We have to look at the totality of the thing. Okay. We don't like to do that, right? And so that's why I say people prefer content over context. But Doc, we're running short on time. I do want to mention this to you
Yes.
because we were talking about the story of the football players at the school. Another thing that I found that was interesting is a lot of boys reported being abused on the back of buses when they would be going to tournaments and games away. And it's so weird. And I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna sound so biased. I know it. I'm sorry, guys. But when I think about sex on the back of a bus, I think about a guy and a girl being sneaky and nasty in the back of a bus as teenagers. I don't think
Yes.
about a boy getting sexually abused on the back of the bus. And this is what a lot of boys are reporting. Let that sink in for a minute. You see? Yeah, and so we as a society, we have a lot to do in addressing sexual violence against males. We know about Penn State, and Penn State has not been the same since. Okay, sorry,
Nor will
just
nor will Ohio State when
nor
this
will
all gets
Ohio State. That's right. That's right. That's not going to be the same either.
uh-uh.
You
Nope.
know, and so it's like we're seeing the flashes in the pan that give us a view in, and it's really bigger. We just choose to turn around after we see it. We look for a little while, and then we turn away from it.
Too much.
Right?
Charles, women, we want women. You have daughters, I have daughters. We want them to be safe in the world.
Right.
We've got to civilize boys.
That's right. Absolutely, man. Okay.
We got to civilize our sons.
Yeah, and no doubt about that.
And part of civilized, Charles, is you've got boys and they have self-control.
Mm-hmm.
That's that thermostat, Charles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if a boy has that, we're going the right direction.
Right. Yeah. Gosh, man. I mean, there's so many. Just guys, make sure that you all read the article, and don't just read the article. Okay.
Let's talk about it.
Don't just read the article. Also, talk about it, yes, but go directly to the research. There's going to be a link in the show notes and on the website that open up the research for you too. There's the article,
link into it.
The link is in the article for the research, but we also want to pull that out so you can see the actual research, right?
Right.
Because I mean, this stuff. There's one OSU guy who he abused almost 1,500 people. How 1,500 people?
Charles,
Okay,
how does that
1,500
happen?
1,500 acts of sex. Well, this is how it can happen. So we already talked about how nobody believes boys. And then, OSU is one of the biggest universities in the country. And this happens
Right.
over time. So you can get that 1,500. And what's interesting about that is that number is probably higher.
Oh, yeah. Charles,
Okay.
I'm not being cynical, but as a psychologist, we just double it.
Gotcha.
I hear 15.
Okay.
I'm thinking 3,000.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
It's like an addict says, I only had 2 drinks. No, you really had 4. Okay.
You had 4. Yeah. Yeah.
No, you didn't have 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Charles, it's no different with these numbers. 15. Yeah. And Charles, this is all about women, but let's talk about men.
Mm-hmm.
If we talk about male abuse, women are better off.
That's right. That's right.
Because you said earlier about the acts of violence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys act out.
Mm-hmm.
Women internalize. Yep. Men externalize.
Right. Yeah. If we can get to men, we can help the women. But if we can't get to the men, and this is what I can get in trouble for this.
Go ahead.
But oh well. The future is feminine, women's empowerment, and everything under the sun. If you're a woman out there listening, you still have to get that power from somewhere. You still have to get that safety from somewhere. In order for you to be fully, or your capabilities to be fully recognized, they have to be fully recognized by the people who are hurting, who are struggling with their past, who are the power brokers and all of that. And those people are men. Okay. So there's all of these movements and things that are out there that people are about right now. You can't dissect America and have a healthy America over there and move forward, and an unhealthy America over here moving backward and think that it's going to be okay. It's not. Okay.
It's fragmented. So it doesn't work.
If the women want that type of empowerment, health, and safety, it's in the best interest of everybody to focus on these men.
Charles, right on. The reason why 16 and 19-year-old boys act out the most, that rage, they've been violated.
Right.
I'm not saying testosterone's not at 1,000%.
Yeah.
Violate a young man, he's good to act it out, Charles, unless there's an intervention.
Right. Absolutely.
With therapy, love.
Right.
And and dads, and I tell you, dads, this is where we can't be sleeping on the job. Can't be sleeping on the job.
Yeah. No doubt. So, guys, listen, I know it's a lot of information here. We could talk about this for, a really, really long time. Okay. But this is a podcast. And we know that you guys got to go. Listen up again, calls to action. Okay.
Yes.
Make sure you're following tbgmen.com. Okay, can't say that enough. tbgmen.com. Sign up for the updates. Sign up. Don't just follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook because you'll miss some things. Okay, but follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We want that. Okay, but make sure that you are following us on the website because that's where all the podcasts are. That's where all the videos are. That's where all the articles are. Okay.
Yes.
Very, very important that you do that. All right. Make sure that you share the podcast with other men. Share it with other women who have sons, brothers, cousins, fathers, uncles. It's important that you help us with this. All right. Look at your phone. If you're listening to the podcast on your phone, go to the support button on your podcast app to contribute monthly to the show. If you're listening or watching on the website, okay, you can go right beneath the video in the podcast and click support so that you can add your contribution there as well. We know that you guys are spending money on a whole lot of stuff out here. Look, guys, this isn't about an agenda or anything like that. This is about reaching men who simply need help. Because a lot of these men won't come to us right now. We've got to be able to go to them. And we need your financial assistance to be able to do that. Okay. To be able to do that. Right. So, again, you've been listening to Dr. Stephan Poulter, the author of The Shame Factor. Heal Your Deepest Fears and Set Yourself Free. You can get this book on Amazon. You can get it on our website. There's a lot of insight about the emotions involving shame and shame as an
Yes.
emotion, you will always go back to it and find something else that maybe it happened to someone that you know, maybe it happened
Yes.
to you. Take it to your therapist or your spiritual advisor, whoever it is that you really, really get deep with, and talk about some of these things, because this is how we're gonna get better. Okay.
That's right,
And
Charles. That's the
and
goal.
understand something. And that in getting better, the goal isn't to get better for a woman or for whoever. The goal is to get better for you first, and then it'll have a domino effect eventually. Okay.
It-
um
absolutely.
so this is a big deal. So guys, as I always say, listen, you got to love yourself more, you got to love your people more. Okay, you have to do those two things, because we don't know how much time we're gonna have on this earth.
That's right.
All right.
That's right,
So
Charles.
until next time, guys, be well, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Thank you.